know geometry. So with these ones, because of COVID this year, I just want you to be familiar with these, all right? I'm not going to ask you to know them exactly, but I want you to be familiar with what they are and what they look like. So the first one is rotations, all right? A rotation is when you turn the figure around a fixed point. And the fixed point we call the center of rotation. The most common fixed point is the origin, all right? The origin, which is, of course, right here at 0, 0. The figures are rotated at a specific angle and a direction. Now, we could rotate them any angle. We could do 30, 15, 97, right? We could do any angle. We have some that we typically use, though, and that would be 90, 180, and then 270. Those are the typical angles that we use. And we always do it in a counterclockwise motion. Okay, so we do it to the right. Or to the left, sorry, to the left. Dyslexia kicking in there. So you can see here, we're rotating this. Here's our pre-image, triangle ABC, and then our image is A prime, B prime, C prime. So we rotated it, and this one rotated 90 degrees, all right? That was a 90-degree rotation, right? 90-degree rotation. Rotations are a rigid motion, okay? So the length, angle, and measures of the pre-image and image are congruent. All right, they are congruent. I'm not going to tell you what the tricks are. All right, I don't want you to necessarily know those, but I want you to be able to look at these and say, okay, here's my image. I'm rotating it from my pre-image to my image. So that was a 90 degrees counterclockwise. 180 is really when it goes from being like this to being like that, right? It rotates. And then the last one here is a 270. So we just rotated it like this, right? We went from there to there. And then for this one, we went from there to there. So my arrows kind of show us how we rotated it. So that's rotations. I want you to be able to recognize them, all right? You need to recognize that if you see this, okay, a rotation happened, all right? Dilation is the next one. All right. Dilation is the next one. So a dilation is, and you do this all the time if you ever do like a photography class, yearbook, anything like that. A dilation is an enlargement or a shrink, right? You enlarge it or you shrink it. You do one or the other to it. And a dilation, put this in like bright pink, something is not a rigid motion, okay? That means that your pre-image and your image are not congruent. And looking at this, you can just see, right? You can see that triangle ABC is not congruent to triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. Now, what is congruent is the angles, all right? So that means that angle A is congruent to angle A prime. And angle B is congruent to angle B prime. And angle C is congruent to angle C prime. That is true. These are congruent. All right. The sides are proportional. The sides are proportional. So that means that the length of AB, and I'll try and write this right here. So AB over A prime, B prime is going to equal CB over C prime, B prime, which is going to equal AC over A prime, C prime. All right, so those ratios will all be the same. That's what it means by proportional. And we'll get more into this when we start studying triangles in Chapter 5. So you don't need to worry too much about that, but I want you to recognize a dilation occurred, all right? And you need to know the angles are the same, the sides are not. Angles are the same, the sides are not. And then, and see if there was anything else. Nope, that was it. So that's all we're going to talk about in terms of transformations. I do want to remind you that there are 4 different transformations. I'm going to grab them, I think. Because now I can't find my paper. Because I have too many papers. There we go. All right, so I do want to remind you there are 4 types of transformations. Translations, which we have looked at thoroughly. You should be able to translate pretty much anything and write rules for translations. Reflections, you should be able to find the line of reflection and reflect figures across lines of reflection. Rotations, you should recognize. All right, rotations you should recognize. And this is going the wrong direction. Silly. It goes that way. And then dilations, right? Dilations. You should be able to know what a pre-image and what an image are. And you should be able to do glide reflections because those are translations with reflections, right? So those are the 4 types. You should be able to recognize all of them, and you should be able to do these first 2 for sure. All right? Email me if you have any questions. I am happy to help. Hello, geometry. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Here we go. So this is the last part of reflections that we're going to talk about. And I just want you aware of this. You'll see on the SBA later this spring. So these are, it's called glide reflections. And the glide reflection is a composition of transformations. Okay, it's specifically a translation followed by a reflection. So we're going to do both of those things. So we're going to start by, we've got triangle ABC here. We're going to translate the figure from xy to x plus 5, y minus 2. So that means I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, right? So that is my translation. So 5 and then 2. So this is A prime. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2. So this is C prime, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, and here is B prime. And I'm going to use a ruler to draw my new triangle. And we can see that this is the same. Now, these glide reflections are rigid motions. Okay, they are rigid motions, so that means the length and angle measurements are congruent between the initial triangle and our final one. Now, we've done the translation. We have not reflected over the x-axis, so that's what we have to do next. We have to reflect it over the x-axis. All right, so here is that guy. I'm going to start by reflecting my C prime. Well, C prime is actually on the axis. We haven't seen this yet, but that means that C double prime is right there as well. Okay, so that is the point for C double prime because it's 0 away from the x-axis, so it's right there. So B prime is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away from the x-axis. So we need to go another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 away. So here is B, and now it's a double prime. All right, so we start off with B, then we found B prime, and now we're going to find B double prime. And then A is 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is A double prime. So our new triangle is right here. Doing my best to keep straight lines. There we go. So that's our new triangle, and this is our final one. All right, this A double prime, B double prime, C double prime. And like I said, that's a double prime. So for this one, we can do one more together, and I'll have you practice a few. All right, so this one, our translation is we are going x minus 2, y plus 6. So let's start with D. We're going x minus 2, y plus 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is our D double prime right here. That means E will go over 2 and then up 6. So there is E double prime. 2 and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is G double prime. And then F2 and then up 6. So there is F double prime. All right, so that is our new figure, and then we need to reflect it over y equals -1. Okay, so our y-axis is here. This is where y equals -1, right there. So I need to reflect it across that. So g is 1, 2, 3, 4 away. So I need to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is g double prime. D is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I need to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that should be D. Did I do this one right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, I did it. My graph is just not big enough. Sorry, guys. All right, E is also going to be, it's going to be down here. That's E double prime. And then F is 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that is F double prime. So this right here, the green one, is our image. It's our final one for this glide reflection, which is a composition of transformations. There are 2 more down here that you are welcome to try. I highly encourage you to try them out because like I said, you'll see this on the SBA. So email me if you have any questions.